development is introduction part. The first topic we are going to discuss about the what is cloud and what is cloud application development. All these things will be discussed today. Okay, so let's see. So introduction, what is cloud? The term cloud refers to a network or internet. In other words, you can say that cloud is something which is present at remote locations. That means what? We have a cloud server where we store our data in the cloud server. That cloud server may be present anywhere in the world. That cloud server will be present anywhere in the world. The user does not know where our data is stored. We do not know. We as a user, we do not know where the data is stored in the cloud server. Okay, so that is cloud server is present somewhere in the world. So cloud can provide services over network on public network or in private network, that is WAN, LAN or VPN. Applications such as email, web conferencing, customer relationship management all run in cloud. So cloud computing provides us a means by which we can access the applications as utilities over the internet. It allows us to create, configure, customize application online. With cloud computing, user can access databases, resources via the internet from anywhere for as long as they need without worrying about any maintenance or management of actual resources. It means we can access the cloud server by using the internet. Through internet, we can access the cloud server. For example, we just take an example of Google Cloud. Okay, we have the drive, Google Drive. Yes or no? That Google Drive, what we are going to, we are accessing the Google Drive, that is Google Drive. We are there. We can create the folder. We can customize our files. We can store our files, video files, image files, text files, everything we can store in the Google Drive. Yes or no? So by providing the service to the customer by the Google Cloud, we are accessing the Google Drive. We are storing the files in the Google Drive. Certain up to certain GB we are getting free. But after in Google Drive, we have 15 GB of free space where we can use we can use that 15 GB space. After 15 GB space, we have to pay some fees, that is called pay per use. Pay per use. According to our uses, we have to pay the fees to the cloud service provider. Next is cloud computing is a general term used to describe new class of network based computing that takes place over the internet. Basically, steps on from utility computing. Next is, in addition, the platform provides on-demand services that are always on, anywhere, anytime, any place. Already I have told you that up to certain amount, the cloud service provider, they will provide us the resources. But the thing is that if we cross that limit, we have to pay the fees. For example, I have given the example of Google Drive. Up to 15 GB to 15 GB, we are using it as free. But after 15 GB, what we have to do? We have to we have to pay the fees for 4 GB space. In Google Drive, we have 15 GB free space. We can use 15 GB of that space without paying any fees. But whenever we require more than that space, we have to pay the fees to the Google Cloud according to our uses. Suppose I require 2 GB of extra space, then what I have to do? I have to pay that extra 2 GB space to the Google Cloud. That is the thing. Pay per use as needed elastic. Scale ups down in capacity and functionalities. That Google service provider can provide you the resources according to your requirement. It can scale up or scale down. Suppose now I am requiring 2 GB of data and 2 GB of free space from Google Cloud, then I have to pay the fees for that 2 GB space. Then whatever up to the users, I can release the resources that I do not need anymore. Then what I have to do? The Google Cloud Service Provider, the service provider, cloud service provider, they will release it, and I do not need to pay the fees anymore. Pay per use. Pay per use. The hardware and software services are available to general public, enterprise, just corporation and business markets. In a shared pool of configurable computing resources, on-demand network access, on-demand. On-demand means according to your demand, the cloud service provider will provide you the resources provisioned by the service provider. SLA. SLA done by the cloud service provider. Cloud SLA means service level agreement. Service level agreement done by the cloud service provider and consumer. We as a consumer and the cloud server, there is a mutual agreement between the cloud server, cloud service provider and the consumer, that they will agree on certain agreement. They will agree on certain rules that cloud service provider has to agree along with the consumer has to agree. Both will agree on some common requirement. That is, for example, the cloud service provider will tell you that I will give you 24 hour of service. That's good. 24 hours of service the cloud service provider is providing. Then, as a consumer, I will trust him, and because that is an agreement. That is an agreement that has to be done between the cloud service provider and the cloud consumer. Cloud computing is an umbrella term used to refer the internet-based development and services. A number of characteristics define cloud data, application services, and infrastructure. That is remotely hosted services or data hosted on remote infrastructure. Ubiquitous, that is services or data available from anywhere. Just I have told you that where the data is stored, we do not know. As a user, we do not know. Yes or no? Uh, and where the data is stored, we do not know. We as a consumer, we are just whether our data is available or not. Commodified, the result is a utility computing model. Traditional utility like gas, electricity, pay for what you would already you know that pay for use. That is according to our uses, we have to pay the fees to the cloud service provider. This is the simple cloud architecture. See here, that is applications and storage infrastructures. These are the cloud consumers. They are using the cloud architecture. This is cloud architecture consisting of two parts. One is front end, another is back end. And what is front end? The front end is used by the client side as a cloud consumer. We're using the front end part, and it contains client side interfaces and applications that are required to access the cloud computing platform. Another is backend. The backend is used by the service provider, the cloud service provider. It manages all the resources that are required to provide to the cloud computing services. It includes a huge amount of data storage, security mechanism, deploy models, servers, traffic control mechanisms. It means what? We as a client, we are using the front end, but the backend is managed by the cloud service provider. That is, they have to provide the security. As a user, as I am a user, I am storing my data into the cloud service, the cloud in the cloud server. Then the data has to be secured. Otherwise, what will if my data is breaches? Then what will happen? There will be no security. So the cloud service provider has to provide the security. Okay. And storage, we as a consumer, suppose for example, I'm taking the example of Google Drive. I'm storing 15 GB of my data, or I can store 15 GB of data into my Google Drive. But after 15 GB, I have to pay the fees. Okay. So front end is used by the cloud consumer and the back end managed by the cloud service provider. So this is the first introductory part, and this is the reference where I have followed. Or then okay, thank you all.